A true story of Hiroo Onoda. And at the end of this story, you will be shocked. March 1974. A young Japanese traveler is walking through the dense jungle of Lubang Island in Philippines. He is searching for a man, not a criminal, not a terrorist, but a soldier. A soldier who should not exist because, according to history, the World War II ended nearly 30 years ago. The fighting stopped, the surrender documents were signed. The world moved on. Yet, somewhere in the jungle, a Japanese officer is still carrying a rifle, still wearing a military uniform, still waiting for orders, still believing the war is not over. And the strangest part, he is not trapped, he is not insane, he is not lost. He is simply obeying an order he received in 1944. An order that would consume almost 30 years of his life. This is the unbelievable true story of Hiroo Onoda, the last soldier of World War II. And by the end of this story, you will understand how loyalty became survival and how survival became a prison. Part 1. The Making of a Soldier. Hiroo Onoda was born on March 19 in Japan. As a young man, he wasn't particularly famous. He wasn't a military genius. He wasn't a national hero. He was one in million of young Japanese men growing up during a period of intense nationalism and military expansion. In 1942, Onoda was drafted into the Imperial Japanese Army. Unlike ordinary infantry soldier, he was selected for special training. He attended intelligence school. There he learned guerrilla warfare, survival, and most importantly, he was taught something unusual. His job was not to die. His job was to continue the mission, no matter what happened. That lesson would define the rest of his life. Part 2. The Order That Changed Everything. On December 26, 1944, Second Lieutenant Hiroo Onoda arrived on Lubang Island in the Philippines. The war was going badly for Japan. American forces were advancing across the Pacific. Japanese commander knew many islands would eventually fall. Before the American invasion arrived, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi gave Onoda a direct order. According to Onoda's later recollections, the message was clear. Continue intelligence and guerrilla operations. Do not surrender. Do not take your own life. Hold out until further order arrive. Those words became more than a military instruction. They became a promise, a mission, a purpose. And Onoda believed every word. On February 28, 1945, American forces landed on Lubang Island. The island quickly fell. Japanese resistance collapsed. Many soldiers surrendered. Others were killed. But Onoda disappeared in the jungle, along with 3 other soldiers, and there a complete different story began. Part 3. The war ends, but not for him. On August 15, 1945, Japan announces its surrender. World War II was over for almost everyone, but not for Onoda. Months later, leaflets were dropped into the jungle. The leaflets explained that Japan had surrendered. The war had ended. The soldiers should come out. Onoda studied them carefully, then rejected them. He believed they were fake, enemy propaganda. a trick designed to capture remaining Japanese soldier. More leaflets appeared. He rejected those too. Then newspapers, letters, photographs, family messages. Still, he refused to believe. Why? Because every piece of evidence had to compete with one powerful belief. My commander promised he would return. And when belief becomes stronger, facts often lose the battle. Years passed, yet Onoda remained convinced that Japan is still fighting. Somewhere, somehow, the mission continued, at least in his mind. Part 4. Life inside the jungle. Surviving in the jungle wasn't heroic. It was brutal. Every day was a struggle. Food was scarce. Disease was constant threat. The weather was unforgiving. Onoda and his companions survived by gathering coconuts, bananas, rice, and occasionally stealing livestock from local farms. They slept in shifts. They moved constantly to avoid discovery, and they remained armed. As years passed, the group became smaller. In 1949, one soldier secretly left the group. Months later, he surrendered. The world learned Onoda might still be alive, but Onoda remained hidden. Then tragedy struck again. In 1954, Corporal Shouchi Shimada was killed during an encounter with local search parties. Only two men remained, Onoda and Kinshichi Kozuka. For another 18 years, they survived together. Think about that. Entire careers don't last that long. Yet these two men remained hidden in the jungle, still fighting a war that had ended decades earlier. Then in October 1972, Kozuka was killed during a confrontation with Philippines authorities. Now Onoda was alone, completely alone. After 27 years in the jungle, most people would have given up. Onoda did not. Part 5. The Man Who Found Him. In 1974, a 24-year-old Japanese adventurer named Norio Suzuki made an unusual announcement. He said he wanted to find three things. First, Hiroo Onoda. Second, a panda. Third, the snowman. People laughed, but Suzuki was serious. He traveled to Lubang Island, entered the jungle, and began searching. Amazingly, he found Onoda. The two men spoke. Suzuki explained that the war had ended long ago. Japan was at peace. The world had changed, but Onoda refused to surrender. Not because he doubted Suzuki, because he still had orders, and he would only accept new orders from the officer who gave the original one. The mission still mattered. The chain of command still mattered. The promise still mattered. Part 6. The Final Order. Japanese authorities located Major Yoshimi Taniguchi. Nearly 30 years had passed. He was no longer a military officer. He was working as a civilian. But in March 1974, he traveled to Lubang Island and finally met Onoda face to face. The moment was extraordinary. A commander and a soldier, separated by 3 decades, connected by a single order. Taniguchi formally relieved Onoda of duty. The war was over. The mission was complete. Only then did Hiroo Onoda surrender. On March 10, 1974, 29 years after World War II ended for him, he emerged from the jungle carrying his rifle, his ammunition, his sword, and a story the world could barely believe. The lesson behind this story. Many people call Hiroo Onoda a symbol of discipline. Others call him a warning about blind loyalty. The truth is that he was both. His commitment was extraordinary. His endurance was almost unimaginable. But his story also reveals something powerful about the human mind. We become what we believe. The stories we tell ourselves shape our reality. Sometimes those stories help us survive. Sometimes they keep us trapped. And that's why Hiroo Onoda's story still matters today. Because somewhere in our lives, many of us are still fighting battles that ended long ago. Still holding beliefs we have never questioned. Still waiting for permission to move forward. And maybe the lesson isn't simply about never surrendering. Maybe the lesson is knowing when the war is truly over.